Hi everyone, CeeCee here. Welcome back to my channel. So as promised, I will do a sketchbook tour of my Inktober 2017 book. I have completed the challenge, and for this I'm quite proud of myself. This is the first challenge that I've ever completed, so it was a biggie for me. I have recorded a lot of videos, a lot of my processes. I started on the 16th day and I think I missed a couple here and there because I thought my camera was broken, but it's now fixed. And when I went into that challenge, I had no expectations. I didn't necessarily want to finish them all. I just wanted to push myself to do as many as I could. Turns out I did everything, but that was cool. So at the beginning I was using just a black marker. I do believe it was, I think it was one of those, the Micro Perm 01. I know that I used a very small tip, so it must have been the 01. So this is day 1 and day 2. As you can see, I have two different styles. This was done with the Pentel brush pen. And the way I attacked all of my pages though is the same. I decided to drop India ink colors on the background first, and then, except for this one, I realize now that I've done it afterwards, but starting from this page, I dropped the ink and I let that dry. And also starting, I would say, from this page forward, I did all of the remaining pages in one go and then let that dry. So this one is just kind of like a one-off. It's just different. This was the start of an adventure, and like I said, I didn't have any plans, so I just followed whatever mood I was in that day. Then I started experimenting with a different style. So again, I dropped the shapes, the colors. These are all Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay inks, which are made of India ink. And then I decided to doodle. It's quite busy. The reason why the ink is so thick is because I was using them right out of the jar. Again, this was the first time that I was using those in that respect, with that method, and so it was just an experiment for me. And then I started doing more subtle drops or plops of color. So I did these 2 pages. I love this one. This is I would say this is the one that kind of like put me on the right track for the rest of Inktober. The cacti, I'm not crazy about this one. In my opinion, it looks a little bit fishy, but whatever. And this, I have no clue if this is a rock or a cactus, but you know, you can interpret it both ways. It doesn't have to be realistic. These two is kind of like, they go this way, first of all. I'm not crazy about. But, you know, again, this was done in kind of like this style. And this is when I decided I don't like it, but I just went with it. So I don't even know if I've published this one. I didn't publish the second one. So this one I showed on Instagram. It was kind of like inspired by fall. And this one never made it to Instagram. I don't think I've published it anywhere. It just looks so weird. I don't know what this is. It looks like a big worm, or kind of like a seahorse that's on its side. I tried to recover this many times, and that's why there's so much going on, and then the little flowers peeking through. These flowers actually inspired, I think, the next piece. Yeah, so I went from this, and this is when I was experimenting with these, and I turned them into that one, and I think it's one of my favorite pages. This one here, I really like that. And I used a flat brush to drop the color in the background, let that dry, and then I just doodled again with the black marker. So I'm still using at this point the black marker, and for the shadows I use the Pentel brush pen. This I love. Again, the same thing. I was using the Micro Perm 01 with the Pentel brush pen. I think these are probably the white dots inside here are done with a paint pen, because I tried to do it with the gel pen and it did not work. So these two were done on the 7th of October. So this is kind of like, I redeemed myself of this one with that sketch. And that kind of started this whole softer color-ish theme. Here I was trying to use pastel colors. These are definitely not my colors, but I like them. I like this one. This one here is nice and soft. This one is very harsh. This is like Japanese inspired trees. I'm not sure that they do exist, but this is what I had in my head. But there's a lot of black here. I tried to soften that black up because I see dots on there, but they disappeared within the black India ink. Actually, this is the Pentel. This. And I did this first village or landscape. I quite like it. I did it in 2 days. So the first day I did this one and the second day I did that. I really like these 2 pages as well. This was a favorite amongst all of you, or on Instagram at least, because that's the only way I can tell. But yeah, these were done so quickly. I don't know what they are. They're, you know, out of my imagination, but I just went with it. And there's a bit of gold, of course, because gold. This is a water lily on lily pads. It's fine. I find it really, really busy, but it was an experiment and it was fun nevertheless. This is when I started. I'm going to zoom in a little. Whoops. Zoom in a little bit. This is when I started experimenting with that type of shading, like this detailed kind of shading. And so this opened the door for the next ones. I think this is the last day that I used the black marker. No, that's not true. This, my Tuscany Village, again done in 2 days. I was happy with this one. I was going with the flow, but then when it came to do this part here, I had a hard time. And I did take reference material for this building because I had no idea how to. I didn't want to repeat this on the second page. I wanted it to be unique. And so I went on Pinterest and I think I saw a photo of something that similar, just this guy here, and then I added this part here. There's lots of trees on here and they're all similar, so it kind of looks weird, but I still like it. I like the colors. Okay, so this is when the whole Muji pen thing started, and I think I started recording on that day, the 16th of October, so the rest is pretty much filmed, except again for a couple of days. So I did this kind of like root, like bad weeds kind of thing. This one I really like. And all of these, this one I had reference material, but the rest, they're all from the top of my head. This, I struggled with this one because I liked this part and then I started doing this and I wasn't too crazy about it, but you know, it's still nice to look at. I'm proud of all of them, by the way, even the misses, because this is how you learn. These, I believe, are orchids. I can't remember. I can't even remember where I got the reference from. Probably from a book that I have. Oh, irises, I think, right? Yeah, irises. They turned out alright. But I've discovered, though, that when I do flowers with reference material, I'm not enjoying myself because I can't let my imagination run wild, and I like to invent stuff. And so that was a bit stifling for me. Anyway, this I wasn't crazy about. I never even showed it anywhere. The flowers are way too small for the colors in the background. I like the shape of the flowers, but it was one of those days where I had no idea where I was going with this, and the more I worked on it, the worse I liked, the more I hated it. And so these two were done on the same day, and then I decided to do this one. Much simpler shape, a little bit bigger, I think more fitting for the colors that are happening in the background. Again, you know, that's not a real flower, but I don't know, I like the look of them. This is my favorite of all the book. I really, really like those flowers. I don't know what they are. To me, they look a bit like, was it echinacea? You know, the ones with the, are they like pink and brown, I think? Something like that. Now this one, this one made me laugh a lot. I got lost on this page big time. I wasn't even sure that I was going to post the video. somehow I imagined in my head that there would be flowers looking like baskets, you know, like woven baskets. Then I added this in the middle with the intention of it being, you know, like the, I don't know what they're called, the middle of the flower, however you want to call it. And then a couple of people thought that they looked quite suspicious, maybe like little poop centers. And now that I'm looking at them, that's all I can think of. So yeah, anyways, moving on. On that day I felt like doing a cityscape. It's effective-ish. These are my two least interesting days, in the sense that it was kind of like close to the end and I was running out of inspiration. And I find that the cityscape gets lost somewhere. There's no real focus on this page. Is it the cityscape? Is it the flowers? Is it the clouds? You know, not my favorite. But I mean, I like all the elements. I just don't like the way it speaks to me. This just patterning, I have to show it to you up close and personal because you can't really see it from far. But this is just patterning, very simple. As you can see in the background, well, maybe you can see. It's very faint, but I had started doing a cityscape and I hated it. I was using both the orange marker and the blue Muji pen because I do have an orange one, and it did not work. And so I covered it up with white India ink and then started all over again on top. But you know, I like the three flowers though, or trees, whatever they are. This one's fun. It's alright. Don't know what they are again, you know. My little fruit basket flowers, my little berry flowers, berries cups. Someone told me that they look like little cups full of berries. I like that. I like that interpretation, so it stuck. This was fun to do. I like doing repetitive patterns and doing shading in between and all that. This is the fun part for me. These I wanted to make. I was seeing like a flower made of ribbon. One of my aunts used to do these flowers made of silk ribbons. She would sew material in the shape of a ribbon and then start turning them. It was very intricate, and she'd make a beautiful rose out of it. And so that was the idea behind this. And because of the way the colors were dropped, I was seeing leaves here. I probably had the intention of doing leaves when I started dropping the color on these pages. And then when I published this, a lot of people were seeing mummies, you know, like a flower that resembles a mummy. But I don't know, I like this a lot. My banana trees, banana flowers. I like these. Again, and it's pretty in my head. It's always sunshiny in my head. You gotta laugh. But I like the leaves. I like the way I did the leaves at the bottom. I think they're cool. And the shading is fun to experiment with shading. Although I have to say I have a tendency to overshade. So I was working on that towards the end. Now this one to me is a total flop because there's a lot of mistakes, and I've actually talked about that in the video. I think I did a not a voiceover, but I actually talked in the video explaining why I didn't like that. So I'm not going to expand on that here. You can watch the video. And this is the last page. And so because I had overdone it with the shading, I decided to keep it to a minimum on this one here. And this is the only page where I don't have 3 of something. And I don't know, I just like the composition with just 2 flowers like this, so I decided to keep it that way. And that's it. That is my whole Inktober journey. It was a lot of fun. I've learned a ton. I want to keep this practice moving forward because I think it's important to exercise creativity every day. It's very easy to just say, today I don't have time to sketch, because I have to do this, and this business related stuff. And so I don't want to go back into that mode. I think it's very important that I sketch or that I draw or that I paint every day. So I'm seriously considering doing that. I had wanted to do it, as I had mentioned to my patrons. I do keep a sketchbook, and I show them the sketchbook at the end of every month as a reward for the $20 plus pledgers. So I do have a sketchbook, and my intention was to sketch every day in it, but in reality it never really happened. So I'm gonna push myself real hard to do so, because if there's one thing that I've learned from Inktober is that the more you do it, the better you get at it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was interesting to you. I'm going to finish my tea, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below, and I will see you later. Bye.